So I'm really excited for our first presenter. I would say the storyline behind him is quite interesting. We've got an Australian working for an Austrian company, but head of VP in North America. So quite a dynamic individual. I am happy to introduce Ashley, an executive member of Pimcore, a leadership team. Pimcore is a great solution, also partners of us here at Bamire as well. He's had extensive experience in digital transformation. Ashley has led organizations through significant technological changes, optimizing lead to cash processes, enhancing customer experiences. His talk today is From Chaos to Clarity, the Forgotten Data Hero of E-commerce Success. So without further ado, Ashley of Pimcore.
Thank you, man.
Look how well dressed this guy is right here.
Hey, everyone. Let me find the clicker over here. So yeah, I guess you all noticed by now I'm wearing lederhosen. So, Ashley Laing, the clicker, yes. Going to talk about this topic. So I work for Pimcore, VP North America. Been with Pimcore almost a year. Prior to this, for about the last 10, 12 years, I've been running digital transformations, mid-market companies doing 100 million, 500 million a year, kind of victims of their own success. You know, in whatever market they've been doing really well, but they weren't ready for the digital era that we live in today. And kind of in my time working with these companies, seen a couple of themes come forward in terms of the challenges they face. I worked a lot of the time with B2Bs, I'd say probably 80% of the time with B2Bs, 20% consumer, and I saw some of the same themes come up over and over and over again. And I want to talk about one of those themes today. So to get us started, e-commerce, didn't it just explode, right? It's been growing really fast for a long time, and then we had the pandemic. And we went from, I think it's 9 million, I can't quite read my own numbers, 9 million to 27 million in 5 years. 5 years, that's a lot of e-commerce sites coming online. And more than 50% of the growth was in the US, and something like 14 million of those e-commerce sites are here in the US. There's been a lot of e-commerce action going on. And I think, with so much e-commerce going on, we really want to think about what's important to the e-commerce experience. And one of the themes that I saw come through a lot is that the unsung hero is being forgotten. And we spend a lot of time, we've heard lots of talks today about, optimizing the journey and optimizing the personalization and optimizing the payment and optimizing the checkout. But from my perspective and from my experience with all of these companies, a lot of the time the real hero, the product, has been forgotten. And we're doing a lot of things in e-commerce and we're not paying enough attention to the actual product itself. And I think it's really important that we kind of give the product the attention he or she deserves. And my favorite product in the world, which I'm sure many of you have enjoyed as well, and I have on good authority at the after party today we'll be able to enjoy some responsibly. But take your product, take your pick of product. I love this product, it was just Oktoberfest, I get to wear the lederhosen, right? But we're talking about e-commerce. And so with any product, and particularly mine, right, you can't taste it, at least not yet. One day we might be able to, but not yet. And you can't touch it. Okay, so there's challenges in the e-commerce, right, to bring the hero of our story to life, to make him real to the buyer. And I think it's really important to compete with the real world, right? We need a lot going on. So how do we compete with the real world? How do we make up for the fact you can't just reach out and touch the product? Okay? It turns out it takes an absolute army of people. Now, it'll depend on your business, it'll depend on your product, right, who's involved, but very typically, right, you'll have a team that's focused on e-commerce and digital, and they're concerned with optimizing pictures, and they're concerned with SEO, and they're concerned with all kinds of digital specific content, virtual reality, 360 views, right? There's lots of things they're creating. But they can't do their job without Oh, input from the classical marketing team who are writing product descriptions, who are putting together other kinds of content. They're doing photo shoots, lifestyle shots, all sorts of other marketing content. They're doing campaigns, they're doing branding work. There's all sorts of input, right, that you can't do without. But it doesn't end there. You know, you have more teams. We have sales, right? Depending again on your industry, they have maybe the most contact with the customer. You know, B2B, a lot of traditional sales is happening, people walking in the street, knocking on doors, right, of businesses. Take the rental industry, for example. I'm constructing a new business, a new building. And so you have sales guys physically out in the field, you know, talking to the guys on the work site. They know the customer best, right? So they're giving inputs like, you know, what does the customer really want? What's the price point? All these other areas, right? That's coming into the equation. Then you have the product development team. If you're making a physical product, they know a lot of things. The specs, the ingredients, the safety sheets, there's lots and lots. And it goes on and on and on from here, right? You have legal and packaging, and everybody else is ultimately involved in some way in supporting the digital experience. So with all of these people working on all these different types of content, right, for your e-commerce, how, you know, we have to manage this, right? We have to look after it. We have to manage our hero and make sure our hero is looked after. And so where is all of this happening today? You know, where is everybody managing all of this stuff they're creating to support the e-commerce website that you might be building with Magento or Shopify or whatever? Where are we doing it? Well, it turns out 75% of people are still doing it manually. They're doing it in spreadsheets, they're doing it in file systems, and it's just sheer human power. Like, there's a lot of effort going into creating all this content. But you take that thought a few more steps, right? So spreadsheet, it's not really good at images. So I've got all these photos of my product, I've got them in a file system somewhere. Do I drop a link to the image into my spreadsheet now, or do I, oh no, better, I'll have a naming convention for all my images. Everyone's going to follow the naming convention, aren't they? So it gets really messy really fast. And the raw content gets consumed and made into other things, right? You have sell sheets for your salespeople, you have fact sheets, you have different kinds of PDFs, different kinds of presentation slides. There's all sorts of things that are supporting this e-commerce experience. So I've got to get all that content from the file system, the Excel spreadsheet, wherever, into those files. Got this awesome sell sheet I used last week. The content is great, but it doesn't match what's in the spreadsheet. Which one's right? We don't know, right? It very quickly gets out of control. It's very hard to manage products in this way. And if you have a small catalog, you can do it with sheer human power for a while. But as your catalog grows, you just can't do it. And there's real world ramifications of this. You know, these numbers, you've seen versions of these from other presenters today. You'll see them in reports all over the place. But 78% of buyers or consumers would say the product information is important, right? Makes sense. I can't touch it. I can't taste it. I can only rely on the information that I can read, watch, see online. So it better be right. It better be good. And well, if you leave the customer uncertain about how accurate the content is, the information about the product, they're going to abandon the purchase. Again, depends on your industry, depends on what you're selling, your abandonment rates are going to be different, but a quarter, right, is a report that I've read that comes out and says, hey, a quarter of these things get lost because the information is not good. But let's say they do buy. Let's say they do get the product, and now they have the product in their hand, and the product doesn't quite match their expectations because of the content that was online about the product. 87% of the time, these customers will never buy from you again. So that's lost return business. And return business is the best business, right? I mean, you're not spending money to get that return business. If you're in the again, the right kind of industry where you want return business, that's critical. So your product information can have a really big effect on your conversion rates, on your revenue, everything that comes downstream. And it's not just in the consumer world. Like, I spend a lot of time in B2B, and I mean 28% of B2B buyers are not buying online because the information is not good enough. The desire is there, right? They want to buy online. And it's a couple of factors. Yes, the pandemic. Yes, lots of us are remote. right? And so it helps if we can buy online. But we also have a young generation of buyers that are empowered with budgets that have only known buying online. They've only known buying online. So it's really important from a B2B perspective, we stand up and pay attention to the, let's close the loop on commerce, and if we're going to be successful, we have to close the loop on managing our hero. So it's pretty bad, right? I mean, like, if I was responsible for this stuff, I'd be tearing my hair out. But it's worse than that. If you're selling more sophisticated products, configurable products, so let's say you're selling tool chests to tradesmen, right? They have their F-150 truck, they have a special tool chest in the back that's specific to their trade. They want different drawers, they want different compartments, it's a configurable product. You need really good data to drive that. If it was jerseys for a sports team, same problem. Tons of designs, tons of patterns, tons of colors, blah, blah, blah. You need great information to drive that. It's a problem either way you cut it. And I think back to the B2B, it's 66%, and I want to get this right, of B2Bs see poor data, right, as a blocker for e-commerce. And the report from Forrester goes on that if they don't solve this problem, they're done. So, we're in a competitive landscape. If someone else is willing to solve the problem, right, and do this right, you're going to lose a lot of business. It is coming. So it's really important to think about how we manage that hero. I think another way to think about it is, managing our hero, managing all the information about product has very different effects per industry. But there's some really common ones that come through. And this is not exhaustive by any means, and I apologize, it might be a lot of detail on here. But industries across the top, major pain points down the side here, there's some really common ones that come through over and over and over again. Time to market, right? If you're doing it manually, it's going to take time to get those products to market, whether it's an update or a new product. And as your catalog grows, which is some of the next points here, managing all that data gets harder and harder and harder. And you've got silos, right? Because you've got file systems and spreadsheets and all these other systems going on, and which is right. You're creating silos. Communication between your teams is going to get difficult. People aren't looking at the same information about product, and so on and so on. Depending on your industry, there are some that are unique, regulatory requirements in some industries, right? You have risk issues if you don't have your product data right. You have if you don't have the material safety sheets right in all the places, you can have real problems downstream. Automotive, this is really common. Construction, this is really common. So again, not exhaustive. Lots of different challenges per industry that I think really, again, like this doing it manually brings all of these things forward and they become a problem for you. So if I was responsible for all this, no matter what my industry was, and I was trying to grow my catalog and trying to do more business online because it's just the reality, my head would be exploding. There has to be a better way, right? There has to be a better way. And there is. And I apologize. Single source of truth, we've all heard that term a bazillion times. But really what I wanted to make the point is, a lot of times when people arrive and realize they have this problem that I'm describing about managing the hero, they run off and do three separate things. They run off and get product information management over here. They run off and get asset management over there, and they run off and get experience management over here. And really, the intersection of those three things is where the real value is. Now, of course, implementing all these things at the same moment, right? We don't have infinite budget. We don't have infinite resources, right? We have to crawl, walk, run. And I think, in all the companies I've worked with, crawl, walk, run typically starts with the PIM and DAM first. But don't let them be separate projects. If they're separate projects, you create a new integration challenge, you create a new workflow challenge, you create two new silos where you've got a lot of the same people working on stuff in two different systems. So there are a lot of great PIMs out there that don't have strong DAM capabilities. And there are a lot of great DAMs out there that have little to no PIM capabilities. It's really like the first step on your journey is really think about product information management and digital asset management as a problem together. As your business matures, right, you are going to start to experience the need for better and better digital experience platform. And like some of the common places that comes up, and again, it depends on your industry, but if you're a manufacturer and you do have, maybe a sales team as well as an online experience, you want to provide your product information to your sales team. Maybe they need to be able to download sell sheets and presentation slides. Well, that's where DXP comes in. You can start to write off of your PIM, publish portals and publish experiences for that audience so they can get what they need. And guess what? Because it's tightly coupled with your PIM, it's going to be correct. It's going to be the right information, right? There's lots of other, customer care, same thing. You might want similar for them. If you're in an industry that has lots of vendors, right, that are providing you with fundamental building blocks of your products, you can establish experiences for them so they can see their products that are with you and upload their product information. So really, like, these all go together. Ultimately, if you don't think about these things together, you're punting problems down the road to be complexities later on. And I really encourage you, crawl, walk, run, think about at the crawl end, PIM and DAM together. And then as you get better and better, grow into the other areas. Thinking of this from what's in it for you perspective, a lot of the same things come up over and over and again. It's a single source of truth stuff, it's breaking down the silos, it's getting ready for digitization. All of these are really important things that you're going to see from the perspective of a PIM, okay? But again, like I was saying, if you implement a PIM by itself, you're only going to get some of the benefit, okay? Because when you think about this from a DAM perspective, you have a lot of the same things coming forward, right? You're looking for that single source of truth, you're looking to break down silos, you're looking to make your assets more valuable so they can be used more reliably in more places. It's really, really, really important to start thinking about these problems together. Because if you do them separately, you're only going to get part of the benefit, and you're going to create new silos and new problems for yourself. And then over time, as you get past kind of the crawl, walk into the run, and you want to support more of these experiences, like I was talking about for your sales team or your customer care or your suppliers, it's really super important to have a toolkit that can help you with some of these areas. Now, I'm not talking about replacing what you're doing with Magento or Shopify. There are lots of places personalization happens. But as you think about your product information, your assets, right, there's a whole bunch of audiences that need to consume that differently than your commerce website. And having that DXP capability there is going to help you deliver what they need, the personalization they need, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's really important to think about this single source of truth when you're approaching this problem. And done well, we can all get back to the important work of wearing lederhosen and drinking beer. But we're not finished yet. We're in business, right? We need to justify these investments. And I think, again, depending on your business, right, the ROI will be in different places. Some of you will see ROI in, time to market. Others will see it in the size of the transaction. Others will see it in repeat business. These are just some examples, right, that I know of from folks that have attacked this single source of truth challenge. And they're really amazing. 53% increase in value. I think that's a bicycle manufacturer, if I remember correctly, and they sell through distributors and resellers. So they needed PIM, but they also needed the portals to get that information out. These guys over here, 80% decrease. They have very complex B2B products, and they were spending huge amounts of people power managing that. They've had massive reduction in gray bar of people focused on, and now they can use those people to do more value-added things. So ROI, super important. It's going to depend on your business, right? Where you find the ROI, but you need to approach it with this kind of thinking in mind. So final thought, I couldn't leave without talking about AI for just a second. I truly believe, right, that AI can have a tremendous positive effect for us, but garbage in, garbage out. You need good product information, great assets, right, that can feed this AI so you can take advantage of the future, so that you can take advantage of all the things that it might bring to personalization, all the things that it might bring to operation, and everything else that I don't even know about yet, right, that it can contribute. So I think it's really important to have the right foundation. And with the right foundation in place, even if you're not wearing lederhosen, you can get on with the important work. Thank you, everyone. questions? Okay. Yes.
If the data sets in the PIM are incomplete, do you guys have a methodology for normalizing data?
Yeah, there's some really interesting things. There's a number of different ways you can attack it. You know, with the integration layers, right, you can suck in information from different formats and different sources and combine it. So a really common case is, right, different suppliers have information in different ways. It doesn't match the way you want it. It doesn't use your categorization tree. So you can normalize it through integration layers. But also with workflows, you can have an AI, right, sitting in that workflow. There's lots of generative capabilities. So if you could use a chat GPT, but, again, garbage in, garbage out. If you take an AI model and train it on the product information you do have, it can do a much better job of then filling in those blanks. I generally recommend people have it participate in a workflow so you can have a real human, engaged in kind of the final steps. So there's a lot of different options, and it depends on your use case a bit. Yeah?
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
And actually, I was going to say too, I always feel like, they say that a good product's going to sell itself.
Yes.
Right? And so it's amazing to see like this being highlighted in the resources and like the why that's behind it.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to use that line now.
yeah, you got it. And I'll borrow the leader hose in. And I think we're good.
Cheers, man. Thank you.